people don't pay their taxes, it's not a matter of us profiting. What it's a matter of is they didn't pay the tax. The county wants to get that property and resell it so they collect the tax money.
Hello and welcome. Our topic today is how to profit from unpaid property taxes. Hi, my name is Sheldon, and I'm here talking today with Mr. Ted Thomas, the foremost authority on tax lien certificates and tax deeds, teaching people all over the world how to have success for over 30 years. Welcome, Ted. Good to see you again. I want to ask you a question about this topic and really what exactly happens after someone has an unpaid property issue? They haven't paid their property taxes?
Okay, it's a simple process. All the counties in the United States are authorized not only by their Board of Supervisors, but by the state legislature to collect tax. And in order to collect tax, they send out notices, you owe so much tax on your property. It's very low. It's like 1 or 2%. It's very small. Okay, now if someone doesn't pay their tax, then they're going to go into a default situation. Now, when they go into a default situation, the treasurer, that's going to be the person that they're going to answer to, the treasurer is going to send them a notice, a simple default notice to say, you haven't paid your tax. You need to pay your tax. If you don't pay it, they'll send you more notices. That's called a notice of default. And you'll get the notice. If you ignore them, then they will lien the property, then they could levy the property, and then they could confiscate the property. But most people, 95, 98% of the people will pay the tax. But the question was, what happens to people that don't pay the tax? Well, the people that don't pay the tax, in some of the states, they issue a tax lien certificate. And what they'll do is they'll say, all right, you didn't pay the tax. We're going to sell your taxes. That's what they're doing. They have an auction. Anybody in the world can come in and pay your taxes. They're going to give them a piece of paper that says tax lien certificate. So the person could pay your tax. All right. Half of the states will sell tax lien certificates, but all of the states will say, if you haven't paid the tax, we're going to confiscate. Now, confiscate means they're going to pick your property up and they're going to own it. Now, you can't pick a property up, of course, but legally, they're going to take the property away from them. In other words, you forfeited the property, and then they're going to resell it at auction. So that's an overview of what happens if you don't pay your taxes.
So from my point of view, let's say I want to buy this property, either a tax lien certificate or a tax deed. Tell me, Ted, which is more profitable?
Well, they're both profitable. So you can't say one's more than the other. If you bought a tax lien certificate, what's going to happen is it's going to have a number on it that you bid, and it's going to have an interest rate. So it could be 16, 18, 24, like that. So it's have an interest rate on it. Those interest rates go up to 36%. All right, so if you bought in Illinois, you get up to 36%. On tax defaulted property, they're selling the property at very close to the back taxes. So let's say the back taxes, you could buy it for 20 cents on the dollar. That's an oversimplification. So you bought it for 20 cents on the dollar. But what if the property was worth $100,000? So there's a big spread between these two. Well, if you sold it for the $100,000, you'd love to have this whole spread. Or if you sold it for half of that, you'd love to have the spread. So you can decide which one's the more profitable one for you. But both of those are lucrative investments for the people that know what they're doing.
Is it really necessary to purchase a property in order to profit from unpaid property taxes?
Well, no, you don't have to. You don't have to get a property. What the government has done is they've decided there's 3,000 counties in the United States, 1,500 of those counties. The first thing they'll do, they're very benevolent. These are benevolent counties, and these 1,500 counties will sell a tax lien certificate. That means the property owner didn't pay, so now the government's saying, all right, we're going to find someone else to pay. That means you or I could go pay that person's taxes. The person didn't get thrown out of the property. They just stay on the property, okay? Now, if they don't pay the next year, I can pay the next year. If they don't pay the next year, I can pay that. All right, so I can pay the taxes for that person. So that person stays in that property. Just because I'm buying the certificate, I can't push them out of the property. I can't charge them rent. I can't talk to them. All I can do is wait. And then when they come in to pay, then I'm going to get all my money plus the high interest rate. So if that isn't a good deal, that's a very benevolent county that's doing that. And I'm going to be able to make safe, secure money. Why am I going to make safe money? Because if they don't ultimately pay, then I'll get the property. But I'm giving them 3 more years. I would say that's pretty darn benevolent. Someone doesn't have to pay taxes for 3 more years.
So, how do you find this list of properties with unpaid property taxes?
Well, that's easy to find properties. It's unpaid property tax is always going to be recorded at the local county. Now, remember, there's 3,000 counties plus in the United States. So what's local to you? If you're in King County in Seattle, that's local to you. If you're in Los Angeles local to you. If you happen to be in Florida, Miami's, you get the idea. So whatever county you're in, that county, the treasurer will keep a list, which they'll publish on their website, and then ultimately they'll put in the newspaper. So they're going to do both before they auction the property. They're not hiding them. They want to get rid of them. The county doesn't want any more property. They already own all the property. They don't want any more.
Do all the states have the same procedure to collect delinquent property taxes, Ted?
The process is pretty much the same in all of the states. It works like this. The legislature of the state said everybody pays tax. Then they push that down to the supervisors, and the supervisors, they tell them, you have to go collect the tax. So then they issue a note to the treasurer and say, all right, lien the property, levy the property, and then confiscate. So that's going to happen in all the states if the people don't pay tax. In all the counties, that will happen. However, they might have some nuance to that, where it might be a little different in Florida and then one in Texas. For example, in Texas, they might do redeemable deeds, whereas Florida just does deeds. All right, so a little difference there. Or if you went to Arizona, they might be doing tax lien certificates first. So it's not like you're going to learn one process. Each of these states is allowed to create their own process, but it's all the same. You either pay or you lose your property.
Okay, so can you invest in tax lien or tax deed properties remotely, or do you have to be there in person at the auction?
Well, nowadays you can do everything remotely. You can buy and resell remotely. As a matter of fact, we spend a lot of time teaching people how to do that. I buy properties. I live here in Florida, and I buy properties in New York, and I can buy them sitting at a computer, and I can look at the properties because I could fly there and look at them if I want, which I do. I always look at the property, but I can have pictures of them right here in front of me, and I can buy online, and then later, if I want to, I can resell it online the same way by using as much media. There's a lot of media involved in selling a property. Why is there a lot of media? Because there's a lot of places you could sell because you're actually selling a bargain. So what you could do is you could use Craigslist, or you could use eBay, or you could use the multiple listing, or you could use Zillow and all. So all that different media, you can do that all sitting at your desk. Do you know how to do that now? No, because you've got all traditional ideas in your head right now. So I have to take your traditional ideas, push them out, and then we push in a bunch of new ones and show you how to do it differently.
Hey, Ted, with regards to unpaid property taxes, which can be a profit source, but then is it ethical? Like, who are we helping with this business?
Well, okay, who are we helping? Well, we're helping a lot of people. So first of all, the county is taking care of everybody in the county, and the county has to have money to run the county. The county employees, we got to take care of the school teachers, got to take care of the fire department, got to take care of the police department. So the county has to collect taxes. All right, so if people don't pay their taxes, it's not a matter of us profiting. What it's a matter of is they didn't pay the tax. The county wants to get that property and resell it so they collect the tax money. So we're helping a lot of people because we're helping the county, and the county has a lot of bills to pay. All right, so we're not stealing anybody's property. Now, it might appear to you that we're stealing because we're buying something for 10 or 20 cents on the dollar, but they start anywhere they want. We don't make the auction price. The treasurer decides what they want to sell it for, and they want to sell it for back tax. They just want to collect the tax so they can run the county. If we can't run the county, we're going to have chaos. We have to have. So we are able, because we have knowledge and understand, we're able to buy properties at rock bottom dollar. So I would challenge you to say, if you could buy a property for 10 cents on the dollar, and then you could sell it for 30 cents on the dollar and make a profit, then you could sell it to a fixer-upper couple, and they could fix it up and they could make a profit. So look at all the people making a profit. People that are doing the fix-up, we're making a small profit, and the county's getting paid. So what's not ethical about that? That's the American way, and I'm glad and proud I'm part of it.
How many properties are typically on the tax delinquent auction list?
Okay, well, let's understand. This is a business of abundance. What does that mean? That means there's an abundance number of counties, 3,000 of them. If you go to a county to buy a tax lien certificate or a tax defaulted property, and it has a large population, I'm going to tell you that's going to be a very large list. I'll give you an example. Los Angeles County has 3 or 4 million people. You're going to find on that list somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 properties they're going to auction. All right, let's do the opposite. Let's take a county that has a very small population, okay, small population of 4,000 or 6,000 people. You're only going to find a half a dozen or maybe 100 properties on that list. So small population, small list. Large population, large list.
On average, how often do tax defaulted auctions take place? Is it monthly? Is it annually?
Okay, well, I can't tell you exactly because the county runs the county and I'm outside the county. But I can tell you every county is authorized to conduct at least one tax defaulted auction a year. Now, if they've got a lot of properties, like Los Angeles have a lot of properties, they might have 2 or 3 auctions a year. So that'll give you a sense for it.
Hey, Ted, what type of research is recommended to purchase tax delinquent properties?
All right, well, this isn't the kind of thing that you're going to look at a list and then decide to buy it. What you're going to do if you're going to research a property is, first of all, you're going to do actual research. So that means you could go to the county, and at the county, you can find out, is there a mortgage on it? Is there a deed of trust on it? Is there a municipal lien on it? Is there a federal lien on it? What's the size of the property? What's the location of it? And so on. So that would be things that you could do. But more naturally, what you would do is you probably would not buy a property without looking at it. So you would go to the property, or you would hire someone that knew what to do. You would go to the property and you would observe the condition of the property. Is the roof okay? Is the structure okay? Is it burned up? Is there something gone wrong? Whatever. So you now would look at the structure and make sure, is the driveway torn up? Is it used and abused, or is it a junker, or what is it? So you would do all of that before you would ever bid on a property. You wouldn't want to buy a property unless you knew its condition and the neighborhood. It could be a beautiful property in a bad neighborhood. How are you going to sell it? People don't want to buy in a bad neighborhood, that's for sure.
What are the common mistakes to avoid when investing in tax delinquent properties?
Wow, common mistakes. These are heartbreakers, folks. Pay close attention. I get to the auction and I'm bidding away, and sometimes I'm lucky and I get one, sometimes I don't, but it's an auction. All right, so I see people at the auction standing in the same aisle that I am, and they're bidding also. And when they win the bid, and I look at them, and the couple looks at each other, and it's John, and he's got Gladys with him, and John looks at Gladys and says, all right, well, let's go look and see what we bought. Well, what if that isn't a big mistake? What is? They bought something and they don't know what they bought. So one of the big mistakes people make, they don't know what they bought because they never went and looked at the property. If you don't have boots on the ground, you don't know whether it burned down. You don't know whether there's been a flood. You don't know if it's been damaged by a windstorm. You don't know if it's next to a pig farm or it's next to a chicken farm. Folks, those are the common mistakes. If you don't check out the property and know what you're bidding on, then you don't want to be in this business, because what if you got a property next to a chicken farm? I don't think you're going to like it in August.
What are the common misconceptions about buying a distressed property people might have? Because I have somewhere in my mind I'm buying a rundown shack, maybe. I don't know. What are they?
Oh, okay. That's a good question. Okay, there's all levels of distress, okay? So distress could mean the property's tilting over and ready to fall down. It could mean there's a hole in the roof as big as your car. That's junk. You don't want to buy junk. Okay, so I'll give you a distressed property that I bought recently. Okay, it happened to be a big colonial house, 5-bedroom house, was on 4 acres of land, and all the oak trees around it were 75 years old. So giant oak trees, beautiful landscaping outside of it, wasn't green, but it was all burned up. Leaves were all over the place. It needed paint, it needed new shutters, it needed work on the inside. But the structure, the bones were okay. So I could go look at that property, but more than anything, when I looked at the property, it was in distress because the people didn't pay the tax. It wasn't a distressed property. It was distressed because they didn't pay the tax. How do I know that? Because I looked at everything in the neighborhood and I said, wait a minute, it needs to be painted. It needs to be cleaned up. It needs to tidy up. And so I hired people to do that. They cleaned it up and now I had a good property. So what was the distress? The distress was the previous owner went bankrupt and they couldn't pay the payment. So that can be a distress. All right, most properties that go to foreclosure for a bank, they're in distress because the people lost their job and they can't pay. That doesn't mean the house is falling down. Yes, you'll hear about one that's all full of junk and not taken care of. But is all of America falling down? No. But there'll be a percent of them. They're junk. Don't buy junk. Go look at it. You'll know whether it's a property that you could paint, clean up, and do whatever. Or better than that, you'll know a property that someone else could paint and clean up, and they'll buy it from you. And that's what I like to do. I like to buy it low. Then I put a little markup in it. So if I could buy it for 10 or 20 cents on the dollar, and I could sell it for 50 cents on the dollar, I got a deal every single time. But those are distressed properties.
By the way, folks, I'm asking questions that have been handed to me by Ted's research team, who monitors the comments online and the questions people ask. So if you have any questions or comments, go ahead, try and stump Ted. Go ahead and post them, and the staff will get you answers directly from Ted. Ted, I was thinking it would be really nice to have some kind of a calendar where all these auctions are happening, and I know you have something special in as far as being able to do the due diligence, so to speak. Can you elaborate on that calendar, sir?
Well, I found out the more I get into the business. I started 35 years ago. In those days, I used to have black hair and I was skinny and all that. Well, now I found out I really like to just do things online and save a lot of time. So what we created is we created an auction calendar. So electronically, you can sit with a mouse, move your mouse around, and it's a big calendar. It's a big United States picture, and you can go state to state. Then you can go county to county within the state, and you can go to each county in the state. So you can actually sit where you're sitting now and move the cursor, and you can go there and that county, and they'll tell you when the auction is and how many properties are going to take place. So we know about every county in the United States. There's about 3,300 of them. There's more than 3,000 counties in the United States. So how could you learn all that? Well, what you could do is what I had to do when I started. I had to laboriously dial the phone and call every single county and get the newspaper, because the only way the county lets you know about this on their website or the newspaper, that's how they're going to let you know. So when they didn't have any internet, we had to get you'd have newspapers stacked. Your room would be full of newspapers trying to figure out when all the auctions are. We can tell you when every auction is and how many properties in seconds. It'll be right below me when we finish. People can go see it. And that's like, it saves days of time.
Oh, it has to. I mean, you're able to just zero in, laser focus on where it's happening, and you say it's up to date, Ted. Because I know the newspapers, it could be stuff that's already been canceled, or it's already history when it's in the newspapers. So you have a system that
Well, that's a good point.
yeah, you have a system
Yeah,
that
it's electronic, so we can update it
so
every
you
day.
update it every day.
Yeah, the county is
That's awesome.
constantly updating. So as the county updates, we get the information. So we're constantly taking in data, putting it in, and then for you, all you care about is move your cursor, and you'll know whether you want to go to that auction. So we've taken what would take anybody weeks prior to 10 years ago. All that would take you weeks. Now it takes you minutes. As a matter of fact, seconds once you know how to do it.
Talk about having your finger on the pulse instantaneously. It's awesome. Go ahead, click like and subscribe, and ask questions in the comment sections below, folks. Try and stump Ted. Click on the description. also to receive a free gift from Ted, and you'll find out more about the tax auctions. Awesome, Ted. You know, you're really starting to get me more and more excited every time I talk to you. And I can't wait to attend one of your courses that you do, your virtual courses that you do twice a month. Ted, it's been an honor, my honor, and a privilege to be speaking with you today. I really appreciate all the information you've given us, and I want to thank you very much.
Okay, Shelton, I'll see you next time. Don't forget, request your free auction list right below me.